Time to light the match for the burning truth with Casey Hendrickson.
Good morning, America. I'm Charles Gibson.
I'm Diane Sawyer, and it's Tuesday, September 11th, 2001.
It is lunchtime in London, 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, and 8 a.m. here in New York, live from the CNN Financial News headquarters.
It is beautiful outside, perfect September day with lots of sunshine. Oh, would you look at Washington, huh? I'm going outside today.
Other than that, it's kind of quiet around the country. We like quiet. It's quiet. It's too quiet.
Number two.
Yeah. This just in, you were looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center.
La espera de mayores informaciones, saber qué fue lo que ocurrió, cómo fue que
Apparently, a plane has crashed into the World Trade Center in New York.
現在私、貿易センタービルから1キロほど北にあります国連本部の
It does not appear that there's any kind of an effort up there yet. Now remember, oh my God.
Oh my God.
That looks like a second plane.
I did not see a plane go in. That just exploded.
We just saw another plane coming in from the side.
You did. I did. That was out of
Yes, and that's
view.
the second explosion. You could see the plane come in just from the right-hand side of the screen. So this looks like it is some sort of a concerted effort to attack the World Trade Center that is underway.
People are running away very, very quickly. There are more explosions further down the building.
This is so shocking, of course, to everybody watching.
I've never seen anything like it. It literally blew itself into World Trade Center.
The building's exploding right now. You got people running up the street.
David, we're going to have to cut you off. President Bush is speaking.
Today, we've had a national tragedy. Two airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
And the Pentagon is being evacuated. There is a large fire there, and that is the smoke you see in the shot that you are looking at now.
It appears that an aircraft of some sort did hit the side of the Pentagon.
It's a very haunting description that Bob Kerr just gave of that low-flying aircraft near the White House, and one can only wonder if that was something that ultimately ended up in the Pentagon.
We just saw a live picture of what seemed to be a portion of the building falling away.
Wow.
And some people were...
Jamie, I need you to stop for a second. There has just been a huge explosion. We can see a billowing smoke rising. And I'll tell you that I can't see that second tower, but there was a cascade of sparks and fire, and now it looks almost like a mushroom cloud explosion.
Let's go to the trade tower again, because, John, we now have what do we have? We don't...
It looks like a new large plume of smoke.
Only one tower is standing. The other has collapsed.
Thanks very much.
Completely collapsed.
The whole side has collapsed?
The whole building has collapsed.
The whole building has collapsed?
The building has collapsed.
We heard a big bang, and then we saw smoke coming out, and everybody started running out, and we saw the plane on the other side of the building, and there was smoke everywhere, and people are jumping out the windows. Over there, they're jumping out the windows, I guess because they're trying to save themselves. I don't know.
And there's, you can see, perhaps the second tower, the front tower, the top portion of which is collapsing. Good Lord. There are no words.
There's a haze everywhere. It's very, very difficult to see, but there has been the whole area has been covered by soot and ash. But it looks almost like snow. So as people are coming up the street running from the scene of this new explosion.
所有飞往纽约和华盛顿的客机都已转飞加拿大的机场。 I'm going to interrupt you, Senator McCain. These are the first pictures we have in. This is from Somerset County, Pennsylvania. This is where the United Airlines flight, I believe it is 176, went down.
Hillary, I need to interrupt you. This is a Taliban spokesman talking now in Kabul, I believe.
Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward and freedom will be defended.
قبل دقائق من افتتاح وول ستريت الذي انهار تماما بعد أن التهمته النيران. أول تعليق لمكتب التحقيقات الفيدرالي أشار إلى أن طائرة البوينغ اختطفت من مطار بوسطن.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know that you tune in every day for the latest and what's happening in the world, but there are priorities. We will get to the debate shortly. The debate is a minor issue over what this day is and what it represents for the entire world, not just this country. So we'll take some time throughout the program, as we do every single September 11th, to reflect on what actually happened that day. Most of you know that I was raised in Las Vegas, Nevada. The only reason this is relevant is because I live directly across McCarran International Airport, which is one of the busiest airports in the entire world. I think they've renamed it now. And it was a very interesting day because I was actually going to work that morning. And as I come out of the complex that I lived in, I turn right. And as I turn right, there's Sunset Boulevard right there. That is the runways for McCarran International Airport. My entire life, I've never seen that airport without aircraft taking off and landing perpetually. My entire life, particularly on specific days of the week. So I'm driving towards the runway at the end of my street where I'm going to turn right. And it was just weird. Yeah, I'm tired, I'm groggy, don't really know what's going on. I do not have the radio on. And I noticed that there's no aircraft taking off and that the aircraft at the terminals are pulled away from the terminals. I'm like, man, something's going on. They must be doing a training exercise or something like that, just a little strange. Or maybe there's a malfunction. And I turn and I turn right at the end there. So I'm on Sunset and I'm heading towards work. And I look in the air and you can set your clock to this. There will be 3 to 5 aircraft in the air in a line landing at McCarran International Airport at any point throughout the week. You can set, doesn't matter what day it is, like you can set any kind of barometer that you want. Like that is going to be the case. There was no aircraft in the air. None. None hovering, none circling over the mountains, none on the runway. Everything was pulled away from the terminals. Very, very strange. And again, didn't have a radio, so I wasn't listening to anything. I get to work, I walk in, and at this point, I'm on inactive ready reserve. So I'm no longer technically a part of the military. I get into work, and they're like, hey, man, an airplane hit the World Trade Center in New York. And I'm like, oh, is that what's going on at McCarran? Because like, there's like no air traffic or anything. Like, yeah, it's, we think it might be a Cessna or something like that. Now, the reason that we thought that is because, well, that had happened before, and that's something that does rarely happen. And at this point, we're speculating on whether or not, I'm like, well, how's the weather there? Like, how did he miss a giant building? Was it a medical episode or something like that? Because if the weather's clear in New York, there's no way you hit one of those buildings. It would have to be some kind of a weird thing. And so I get into the actual building and they turn the TV on and I look at that and I go, that's not a Cessna. Now, at this point, what might be relevant to the story is I knew who bin Laden was. Almost none of you did. Because I had been spending a good chunk of my career tracking him and his activities throughout the world. So I see that airplane and I go, that is not a Cessna. That is a jumbo jet. That is a passenger line, something like that. So it's large. And they're like, no. I look at the hole in that thing. Like, that's not a Cessna. Cessna doesn't do that damage. So everybody's debating this. You know how it went. I mean, everybody pretty much went through the same thing because we'd never seen anything like that before. And as we're sitting there, we watched the second plane hit the other tower. And of course, at that point, everybody knew exactly what was going on. I, like many others, went ahead and contacted home and told them the activation code and that sort of thing. And it's like I said, they're going to probably ask you where I am. Just tell them this number, have them call me if they call me up. I never got that call. Something that has haunted me, by the way, my entire life since, that I haven't got that call. But we all knew pretty much what was happening at that point in time. I had a little bit more of an inside track on it than a lot of people did, but there's a lot of people who have been tracking Bin Laden for a long time, going back all the way to the 90s and everything else that happened in the World Trade Center previously. And that kicked off a whole host of foreign policy changes and domestic policy changes, and dare I say, an erosion of your freedoms. And a lot of us went along, and myself included, a lot of us went along with it. You know, we looked at the Patriot Act and we're like, oh, look, there's checks and balances in there. And there were. What we were naive about back then and are less naive about now is the willingness for the government and even sometimes the courts to ignore the checks and balances and just allow certain things to happen and certain people to do certain things and abuse certain powers and for nothing to ever be done about it. And the Patriot Act, which is supposed to stop terrorism, has rarely ever been used for terrorism. It is mostly used for domestic drug issues. That is primarily what it's used for. It's not used for counterterrorism efforts or anything of that nature. So a lot of things, good and bad, have happened since then. It's certainly changed the entire world. It's definitely completely remade the United States of America. And most would argue not for the better. You know, we thought we were doing the right things at that time. We were not. We were giving the worst of us the power and the ability to control us in ways that were unimaginable in 2001. That's what we did. And I don't think that they knew that they were going to have that ability either. I just think it ended up being somewhat of a happy coincidence with a little bit of tailoring certain technologies and certain laws and things like that to fit with what had already been implemented after 9/11. We'll talk about the debate here, if you can call it that. We'll talk about the debate next because there's a lot of you, and I see you in the chat. You're wrong. Relax. Calm down. It's not what you think. Okay, we'll get into that. We'll get into some of the details of it. Remember, debates are about the pageantry. What happened with the pageantry? How is it received by the voters who are not already decided? What do the undecideds think about what happened? That's all that's relevant. The truth isn't relevant. Demeanor isn't relevant. Okay, it's mostly about the pageantry and how people perceive it. It's always been my critiques, my advice, my analysis of debates. I will continue to do that coming up. Before we do, I just want to ask you one question. Who is Ben Ghazi? Got more coming up. You're listening to The Burning Truth. Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to The Burning Truth. I'm your host, Casey Hendrickson. So I don't know if you'd call these highlights or not. I don't really know what to say. Now, my phone was blowing up yesterday for obvious reasons. You know, a lot of you wanted me to do a live stream about the debate, and every time I do that, it's always really popular, and I'm always very appreciative that you guys hang out with me when we do that. Yesterday, however, I had a date, and my 12-year-old came to me and said, hey, we haven't done a one-on-one daddy-daughter date in a while, and I want to go out. And I was like, okay, so we're going to do that. I've been doing a lot with the two girls and me, but we haven't done the one-on-one in a while. So she likes to get dressed up. So I went home after the show. I got my suit jacket on, nice shirt on, and she got her favorite dress on, and we went to Chubby Trout and had a really, really good meal. And it was one of those things, too. It's like, you know, when your 12-year-old does not pick up their phone at all, Morgan, not a single time did she pick up her phone. Not one time. My 12-year-old, not one time did she pick up her phone. She set it down on the table, and we talked the entire time. Like, it was just a great conversation. And you don't always get that out of your 12-year-old. You parents out there know exactly what I'm talking about, particularly if they're at that age where they're discovering music and they got their headphones on all the time and that sort of thing. But it was great. And again, there are priorities. 9/11 is more important than yesterday's debate. And Daddy-Daughter Day was more important than watching the debate last night. So I went through it all today. And it's a sacrifice that I make for all of you to make my work day a little bit more stressful. But again, there's priorities, folks. Make sure you make time for that stuff, too. Seriously. It is such a big upgrade in your life when you make time for that. I learned so much about her life last night. She learned so much about mine. The only time the phones got picked up was to take pictures. And that was, it wasn't a fight. It wasn't an argument. It was something that was just easy. And be present for your kids. Make sure you do that as much as you possibly can. So cue my audio, please. We're going to go over some of the lowlights here. And I'm going to play these. And then on the other side of news, we'll start breaking everything down that happened last night. So that way people who might be relatively new to politics and that sort of thing will be able to get some analysis of somebody who's been doing this for over 20 years. And hopefully I can provide some brevity for all of you out there. So just have a listen to this little montage here.
What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals.
If Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages.
Migrant crime, and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country.
Excuse me, the FBI defrauded.
Honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people.
And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them Republican.
No judge looked at it.
And no judge looked at it. There's no standing. ABC lied. So we'll break it down after the news, next on The Burning Truth.
The Burning Truth with Casey Hendrickson.
Great suggestion from a listener on the live stream. It's like, man, Case is sitting here singing Simon and Garfunkel by going over all of the lies that Kamala Harris was saying. All right, so here's the deal. It wasn't a real debate. I know that you know that. I know that I'm just repeating what everybody already understands. So here's where we're going to get into just your basic analysis before we start breaking down what was actually said. It wasn't Trump's best night. It wasn't an awful night. It wasn't a horrible night. It just wasn't his best night. It wasn't Kamala's either. She had a pretty bad night too. And Dan Bongino was making some points earlier today. I caught a little bit of his show where he was saying, he's like, if she did so well, then why are there no viral clips of her owning Trump? Good question. Could it be that ABC doesn't want the backlash that's going to happen if they post the stuff that she said? Because the stuff that she said is demonstrably false and has been debunked for years. Joe Biden tried this stuff, okay? He tried running around and talking about this Charlottesville lie. He tried lying about police officers being killed on January 6th. He tried lying about the bloodbath. He tried lying about dictator from day one. They tried lying about Arlington Cemetery when I was on vacation over the past couple of weeks. They've tried all of this stuff. It's not sticking. The only thing that they seem to think is sticking is the weird thing and Donut Gate. We broke down Donut Gate in hour 1 yesterday. Probably too long, but I felt it's a more important story than people realize. They wouldn't be focusing so much on how J.D. Vance orders donuts if they had something important to say. If you're an undecided voter out there, can I just ask you, I guess a question, maybe a statement added on to it. How does it make you feel that the Democratic Party, the only thing that they're telling you at all are debunked, fact-checked, universally proven to be untrue lies in order to get your vote? How does that make you feel? Is that something that makes you feel good? Does it make you feel all warm and gooey inside? Does it irritate you a little bit that they're running around and telling you that Donald Trump praised neo-Nazis in Charlottesville when he did not? And it is universally debunked as a false statement? Does it bother you that they're continually telling you that Donald Trump promised a bloodbath if he didn't win the election when he was clearly talking about the economy, specifically the automotive industry, which is a common used term about economic downturns? One that was used by CNBC and Fox Business and every single business network about the economy prior to that. We played you montages of it. It was actually a term that Kamala herself used for the economy. It's a term that Biden himself used for the economy. And all of the news networks that were attacking Trump for using the bloodbath comment, it's funny, we played you, didn't we, Morgan? We played montages of them saying the same damn thing. So does it irritate you that they're lying to you about this? The Democratic Party is not going out there and telling you anything of any substance, but they're just simply telling you the same old, tired, debunked lies. And are you foolish enough to fall for it? Because I'm telling you, it irritates me, and it doesn't even work on me. So it wasn't Trump's best night. Did he lose? No. Did Kamala win? No. If you're a Trump supporter, you think he won because the things that he said were more true than the things that she said. If you're a Kamala Harris supporter, you're going to think she won because you don't care that she lies and you hate Donald Trump. That's really it. There's no truth in anything that she said. So you can't say, well, she told the truth, because that just makes you a stupid person. Now, you can run around and say, I am a stupid person. You can get a shirt that says stupid people for Kamala if you want. Actually, you can get those online. I think they're Taylor Swift shirts. So you can do that if you want to. But at the end of the day, she didn't say anything that was true. You know what I find amazing is I watched some of the analysis post-debate on some of the left-wing networks, because I like watching left-wing networks and kind of their take on things and just, how are they going to spin it, that sort of thing. Because at the end of the day, folks, what last night was a complete and total waste of your time. That's what it was. There was no movement of any undecided voter last night. Nothing at all changed. What you want to see in a debate is you want to see people who have not made up their mind yet. You want to see them being moved one direction or the other. That is all a debate is about. That's it. Period. End of story. It is not about appeasing your base. It is not about convincing the other side's loyalists to defect to you. It is purely about the undecided voters and whether or not they move. And if you watched last night or listened last night right here on this radio station that you're listening to this show, was there anything that happened last night that moved you in any direction? There really wasn't. There was no viral moment for Kamala Harris. There was one viral moment for Donald Trump. So I guess technically you could say, Trump probably won. I tend to think that really nobody accomplished anything. There was no winner. The loser was ABC. And really any of you who wasted your time on it. That's kind of where we're at. there wasn't a winner last night. I don't think that Trump convinced anybody who was undecided. I don't think that Kamala convinced anybody who was undecided. Taylor Swift was always going to vote for Kamala Harris. Is the Taylor Swift story important? No. I'm only bringing it up because every news outlet in the history of the world seems to somehow think that that is a front page news story worthy of text alerts. Did you get a bunch of text alerts about that crap too, Morgan? No, Morgan's smart enough to not sign up for news text alerts, not from this station, from everywhere else. Our station didn't send that out. In fact, none of the 5 stations we're on sent that out. But boy, did I get a lot of text alerts. Breaking news. Taylor Swift is voting for Kamala Harris. We already knew that. Okay? We already knew that. It isn't relevant in any way, shape, or form. Not at all. So it was a giant waste of your time. What we can glean from it, though, are some dramatic differences. One, I believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the Republican Party has to stop doing cable news debates. The Republican Party has to stop doing network news debates. It must end. We're at a point now where it is inexcusable, and it has been for a long time. I understand that. It's inexcusable for Republican candidates to debate at all on ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, and yes, even a lot of the time, Fox News, which Democrats have blacklisted from debates and will not debate on. So it's probably time that the Republican Party just say, if you were going to debate, you know what? We're going to have Megyn Kelly, or we're going to have Joe Rogan, or we're going to have a panel of people that are not affiliated with a network that directly monetarily benefits from any of the political parties or the candidates that might be running. We have to get to a point now where we are just going to say enough is enough. And I know that the Republican Party talks about this crap all the time. I was hoping that Laura Trump was going to, move in this direction. They didn't. They didn't. Now, I've told you many times before, there is a strategy in politics, and this is how you know who's winning and losing. For those of you out there going, Trump is losing, Trump is losing. Here's the thing. If you are ahead, then you avoid debates. You avoid them. There's no reason for you to do them. If you're ahead, you kind of pretend the other person isn't really there. If you're behind, you raise a stink and a fuss, and you go out there and you tell everybody that they're running scared. They're refusing to debate me. Who did that? Morgan, who did that? Was that Trump? Did Trump do that? Nope, that was Kamala. Kamala did that. Kamala is the one that ran around as Trump is trying to duck the debate. Of course, Trump never tried to duck a debate. There was never a debate scheduled for them, ever. She's the one that ducked a debate, though, while telling everybody that he was ducking the debate. Her behavior is that of somebody who is behind, not ahead. If you look at the polling data and you look at the biases in the data and you look at the expert analysis of the current polls out there, they're telling you that Trump is ahead in this thing. Now, there are polls out there that have Kamala +1 or whatever, but when you weigh the data, it's not +1 Kamala. She's behind by 2 to 3 points at least, okay? Swing states are what matters most. Likely voters are what matters most. The polling is dramatically reduced anytime that Kamala Harris is behind, and it is, when she's ahead, it's dramatically reduced. So when she's ahead, you sit on the data, you keep it there. When she's behind, you keep polling until she gets ahead. That's how it works. We've kind of broken this down for everybody before. This is old hat, old stuff. Nothing new. But if you're an undecided voter out there and you actually said, all right, I watched the Biden thing, and the same people telling you that Kamala walked away with this thing are the same people who told you that Joe Biden walked away with it. They're the same people. There was a lot of people telling you that Joe Biden won that first debate. There wasn't a lot of people in network news because their job was to get Joe Biden out of there. They wanted Joe Biden out of there. But there was a lot of activists. There was a lot of left-wing celebrities. There was a lot of the Swifties and whatnot out there who were telling you that Joe Biden kicked Donald Trump's butt and this was a walk-off, full bases loaded home run. And we all know that it wasn't. We played you some of the montage of it. It was actually laughable how much coping some of the liberals in the lexicon of popular culture were trying to twist what happened with Joe Biden. Those same people are telling you that Kamala won. She didn't. Trump did get angry at some point. I mean, I understand why he did. It's not a great look, though. Kamala Harris also didn't have a great look. Kamala Harris looked, a lot of people use the word condescending to describe her, fake to describe her, some of the expressions that she was doing. The expression that kept coming up on regular basis looked like she had walked into an elevator and somebody had just, ripped a blood fart that was just epic and heavy, and she couldn't get away from it because she was still late. That's what it looked like on her face. She's just a giant stink face. And what's up with her neck? I'm tired of ignoring her neck. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but somebody who built their career on neck exercises should have firmer skin around their neck. We got more coming up. You're tuned into The Burning Truth. All right. Casey, where'd you come up with the term blood fart? Invented it when I was 13 years old. Congratulations, folks. It made its way around to you. Same thing with butt vomit. We used to sit around and come up with all sorts of cool things to call each other back in the day. Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to The Burning Truth. All right. Listen to some of the fair and unbiased debate moderation that we had going out there. So this is, once again, Kamala Harris lying about Charlottesville. Cue the audio, please.
Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side.
No, lie. There were 4 groups that were there. One was the Tiki Torch crowd. The other was a domestic terrorist organization that the police said started the violence, and that would be Antifa. And then there were normal people who supported keeping the statues up and normal people who supported taking the statues down, who were not affiliated with either of those other 2 groups. There are 4 groups there. Go back and listen to the police chief explain all of it on national television, including how Antifa poured concrete into Coca-Cola cans and started the violence. Keep that in mind. Donald Trump was talking about the people who are peaceful on both sides of that debate. He was not talking about Antifa, and he was not talking about the white supremacists, whom he condemned totally, and that is a direct quote. But they keep lying to you about it. They repeat that lie over and over and over again because the Democratic Party is counting on you being too lazy, too uninformed, and too ignorant to be able to fact check it. Like I said, everything that she said last night was untrue. I don't think that Kamala Harris uttered a single factual statement last night. When you're looking at left-wing news outlets that love her and say that she won and she controlled the debate and all of that other stuff, and even they repeatedly, network after network after network, had their pundits say, well, she masterfully avoided answering any questions of substance tonight. Right. She rehearsed her lines. She moved her neck flaps out of the way. And she repeated what she had been rehearsing for several days into the microphone. And she didn't say anything else. And she repeatedly tried to interrupt Donald Trump. And because she repeatedly tried to interrupt Donald Trump, he had the one viral moment from the debate, which, of course, will be used in the coming days in the meme wars and will end up being an asset to him. But it was a giant waste of your time yesterday because Kamala Harris didn't take it seriously. ABC News didn't take it seriously. And you're the ones that ultimately were betrayed by both of them. We got more coming up.
Podcasts by Federated Media.